Let me get started. Welcome everybody to 52 Living Ideas. We are on chapter 18, the final chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Today, we are starting with verse 5. So we'll be going from 5 to 9. We're going to have two readings in English, and then we are going to have Yogeshwar's commentary, and then we'll do questions and comments. All right, let's get started. We're going to start with Ambika. Ambika, go ahead.
Starting with 5. The acts of yajna and dana and tapas are not to be abandoned. They indeed ought to be performed. Yajna and dana and tapas are purifiers of the men of intelligence. These two are certainly the actions to be done, having renounced fruits and attachment. This, O Partha, Arjuna, is my decided and highest view. Renunciation of rightly regulated action is surely not worthwhile. The renouncing of it out of delusion is pronounced as tamasic. He who renounces action for fear of its physical weariness and drudgery, considering that work as such is troublesome, he, having made a rajasic renunciation, obtains not the fruit of renunciation. The rightly regulated action done purely as what ought to be done, renouncing attachment and also its fruit, that renunciation, O Arjuna, is considered sattvic.
Thank you, Ambika. Next up is David.
Actions based on performance of sacrifice, charity, and austerity should never be renounced. They certainly must be enacted. Performance of sacrifice, charity, and austerities are purifying for those in wisdom. Moreover, these activities should be performed as duty, renouncing attachment to fruitive results. This is my topmost definitive conclusion, O Arjuna. But renunciation of prescribed activities is not recommended. Abandoning them due to illusion is declared as the nature of nescience. Giving up such actions out of fear of bodily discomfort or as a troublesome enacts renunciation in the nature of passion. One certainly never obtains the fruitive results of this renunciation. O Arjuna, prescribed actions which are performed as a matter of duty, giving up attachment to fruitive results is considered renunciation in the nature of goodness.
Thank you. Yogeshwar?
Yajnadana tapa karma na tyajyam karyameva tat yajnyodanam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Krishna yesterday talked about yajna, which is sacrifice, dana, which is charity, and tapas, which is austerity. And said that they are different people, and not just normal people, but enlightened persons who have given their followers different views of what renunciation means, of what tyaga means. However, Krishna is now saying that Nischayam Shrinu Me Tatra. Listen. He's saying Shrinu, saying listen. I am telling you in all those that I've said. Tyaga is of 3 types. And in that, I am telling you what I have taken as my nischaya. I have taken as my mati. I have taken as my mat. So Krishna is now saying what he sees as the most righteous form of tyaga, most righteous form of renunciation. Yajna dana tapah karma na tyajyam karyameva tat. Yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. First is the statement, what Krishna sees as right, as how to renounce. These three types of acts, sacrifice, charity, and austerity, should always be done. Na tyajyam karyameva tat. They should never be renounced and they should always be done. Then in the next line, Krishna is saying that, why so? Why do they always have to be done and never renounced? Yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Sacrifice, charity, and austerity for a person who has the intellect, for a person who has the ability, for the person who can get to the essence of these three. Pavanani. They are the most purifying of all. Without these three, there would be no purifier. Now, one thing Krishna knows that the swabhava, to be, is what Arjuna should be remaining with. Then why these types of karma now? Why did Krishna say that Arjuna has to always do these three types of karma? And not only Arjuna, by the mode of Arjuna, Krishna is telling the whole world that this is what I think is right. This is what I hold as the best way of renunciation. Because then our swabhava is Brahman. But then there are all these veils that are there. There are all this dust that has been put on top. There's all this ignorance that has been there for years and years. What should we do with that? We always have to keep on cleaning. Now the cleaning is not to get to Brahma, because Brahma is not something we get towards. Rather, it is to remove what prevents you from being in your own Swabhava. That constant cleaning is what Krishna is saying, that Pavanani Manishina. If we get to the essence of them, as Krishna has explained in the 17th chapter, then we can get to that purification process. It will remove all the dust from on top. And when the dust has been removed from the mirror, then you can see what the mirror truly shows. As we had used the analogy of, let's say we have a glass in front of us in chapter 13, and then we can see that what is through the glass. We can see that. But then there's also a portion of the glass reflecting back who you are. Now, the glass will not be able to reflect who you are if it has gotten dirt on its surface. So what Krishna is saying, remove the dirt, then you'll be able to see yourself in the glass. Then there is a possibility, because until you have seen yourself in the glass, the possibility of knowing that you are different or you are separate from what you are seeing through the glass is minute. However, having seen yourself in the glass, then it's really easy to introspect and say that there is something on this side of the glass which I should be aware of. There is something that I should get back to inside me, rather than just looking outside. Krishna is saying these three types of karma, they clean that glass. They clean the antahkara. Having that clean, there's nothing you have to do. That is what Krishna is trying to explain. Nothing you have to do to get to your swabhava, because what swabhava means is who you are. Nothing you have to do to get there. But then, if you do not do this, then the ignorance will always be there. That dirt will never go away, and you'll never realize what your own swabhava is. You'll not realize what Brahman is. You'll not realize what Atman is. So these three types of karma, they are the purification process. As we have seen in chapter 17, there are different categories. There's the tamas, and there's the rajasic, and there's the sattvic. Now, Krishna says, know these three types, and then know where you sit, because that's really important. When you're doing any type of karma, know why you're doing it. Is it that I don't want to do another type of karma, so I'm running away from that and doing this? What am I doing? Or is it that I see a fruit in front and I'm doing it? Or is it because it's my hobby, I can do it without any constraint that I'm doing? What is the reason I'm doing it? Or is it because society says that this karma is good, so I should do it? Why is it that I'm doing this karma? Know the reason. Know your emotions behind that particular type of action. Having known that, then you can constantly contemplate on why you should do the action. Remove the weeds from the action. Stay with the essence. Having stayed with the essence, now constantly doing the action with the essence takes you to the purification process now. Not just the action, because Krishna has dwelled on the explanation of what the essence is. Now, not only the action will help, the action with the essence will help now. Etanyaphi tu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyani me partha nishchitam matamuttamam. See, Krishna is saying here that even this, now, leave alone any other type of karma, but even these three types of karma, they should be done without the attachment to the karma and also without the attachment to the fruit. Now, we've constantly talked about the attachment to the fruit and not having that attachment. But then Krishna is leveling it up here. Not only that you're not attached to the fruit, but then you're also not attached to the karma only. You have to separate yourself from the karma. You have to know you are separate from the karma that you're doing. That is the karma, and you are the karta of the karma. When that happens, then you can get the essence, you can get the glimpse of what the karma truly means. To know the essence of so many things, yeah, you have to live them sometimes. To know the essence of what the fruit means, you have to leave the attachment of the fruit. To know that you've gotten addicted to something, you have to leave it. At least you have to try to leave it. So you at least realize that I'm addicted to it. Now, having known that you're addicted to it, now you'll be able to get onto the process of how to leave it. It may be hard in the beginning. It may be tiresome at the beginning. But what it leads to is a revealing effect. It takes you to another level whereby you can do a lot more than when you were addicted to it. However, at first you may feel that, oh, if even getting addicted to something small, yeah, like getting addicted to maybe you can't do your work without even having a sweet or a chocolate or something like that, yeah, even some small addiction. Now try getting rid of that addiction. At first it is tiring, like you can't do it. It will take your mind off. You can't do your work. But then in the long run, you'll realize that you're able to do more than when you're with the addiction. That's why Krishna here is saying that we are, in a way, even more certainly addicted to the fruit. And when we say that don't get attached to the fruit, then what happens is, because attachment is there, so we get attached to the karma. That's also wrong, Krishna is saying. What you should do is just do the karma without any attachment, either to the fruit or to the karma. Just do the karma. That is doing the karma in a sattvic step. And then how will you do the karma then? Because you're not attached. Attachment is what we know that allows us to do any karma. Kartavyani te me partha, nishchitam matamuttama. Kartavyani, because it is what is supposed to be done. And this is, sometimes it feels like as if Krishna is implementing something onto Arjuna. He's saying that because you should do it, you should do it, without even knowing the essence. But first know that Krishna has done a lot of work explaining to Arjuna what it means, what the essence is, what you have to grasp. And then when Krishna says that this is the law and this is how it should be done, then Arjuna, even in his mind, doesn't have a question of why I should do it. It should be done because this is what the principle is. This is what the principle of karma is. This is how it works. So Arjuna is now going to do the karma, just what it is meant for. Kartavyaniti. Now, Krishna is ending his statement of what he feels as the best way of renunciation. Nishchitam me matam uttam. He Partha, O Arjuna, this is what I see. This is what I hold as my mat, as being true, as being the right way of renunciation. And it's not that only I hold it, but then it is the best way of renouncing. Uttama. So it's not only that I have said that it is good, but then it is the best way of renouncing. And when Krishna is saying this, realize that Krishna is not only saying this from his view, he's also saying it from his experience and the experience of the world as well, like how people view it as well. What is the best way for the people to do it, even for those who have not reached? So it's not only for the person who has reached that renunciation is the best in this way, but even for the people who have not reached, renunciation is the best in this. And in this, Krishna had put the basement of this in chapter 2, where we see karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturpur ma te sangostva karmani. There he laid out the foundation of each and every, like he had put each and every block in place. Karmanyevadhikaraste. You only have the authority of doing karma. Yeah? Ma phaleshu kadachana. You don't have the authority upon any of the fruits of the karma. For this reason, ma karma phala hetu ma te sangostva karman. You shouldn't be attached to the fruit, yes, and then also don't be attached to the karma. Then also don't become the reason for the fruit. And then Krishna is also saying one unique thing about it. Now, you see, you shouldn't get attached to the fruit. Don't get attached to the karma. Just do the karma. Now, somebody will say, oh, okay, not get attached to the fruit, not get attached to the karma, then I will get attached to a karma. So Krishna here is saying, ma te sangostva karmani. Also don't get attached to a karma. Don't say that you want to run away from karma. Krishna is removing all the types of attachments that somebody can have. Whether it is a person who is doing karma or a person who is not doing karma. Krishna wants you not to sit in the rajasic type of play or even in the tamasic type of play. No, don't do action in any of these two modes. Why it is a bit difficult for us to understand how to do karma without any of these is because our experience is only in either rajasic or tamasic. When you don't want to do anything, just don't give us any fruit of the karma, then we won't do anything. If you want to motivate somebody to do some type of action, then give them the intention of the fruit. Give them what they will realize after doing the karma. Then they will start doing the karma. These are the only two modes that we know of life, of doing karma. Krishna is revealing us to the third mode of doing karma, which is neither of those, which is the sattvic mode of doing karma. Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmano no papadyate mohatasya parityagas tamasa parikirtitah. Now, what will happen is Krishna is now also breaking these modes of renunciation into three, because he has stayed his mata, whereby these three should not be renounced. They should always be done. But then, not always are we doing those three types of karma. We are also doing our swabhavik karma. We are also doing the karma that needs to be done for our family, for ourselves, because we have basic needs. And we're also doing karma for the society as well. We're never leaving karma. It's never going to be that these three types of karma is all we're going to do in our lives. Krishna is now saying, if you want to renounce, then renounce in a way that only these three karma are done. Now, Krishna is taking a step down. Let's say that you want to renounce even one karma, not a category of karma, but one karma. Like say, I will not read this book. Just that small type of renunciation, that small type of tyaga. What implications does it have? What type of tyaga is it? Even that small type of tyaga. Krishna is saying there are three types of tyaga. When you're saying that I will not do the karma that is even meant for me, niyatasya tu sannyasa karmanu nopapadyate, then that is, you're not being righteous to yourself. You're not being fruitful to yourself at all. Mohattasya parityaga, tamasa parikirtita. If you renounce that from your delusion, from your ignorance, then that type of tyaga is tamasa. Now, one thing to note here is that in all chapters, chapter 14, chapter 17, even ahead in chapter 18, any categories that Krishna has made of these three, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, always sattvic is on top. That's the first distinction Krishna makes. However, here in Tyaga, Krishna makes the first distinction of tamasic type of Tyaga. Why so? Because the first thing somebody will think about in doing Tyaga is saying, I want to do karma. And that, the first pitfall for him will be the tamasic. So Krishna is saying, let that not happen. Because everywhere else, like for example, doing a yajna, the first pitfall will not be tamasic. Yeah? Because you're doing something. There is a sankalpa within, there is a willpower within. So it's not tamasic. It's not that you are not doing anything. However, in Tyaga, we should realize that when we're renouncing something, the first thing we should be aware of, are we doing it out of our laziness? Are we doing it out of a delusion? Or are we doing it out of our ignorance? Or even, are we doing it running away from our swabhavik karma? Because we don't want to do what is supposed to be done at the right time. What we are saying is, I want to get a way out of that karma. And then you're doing this other type of karma. So why you're not doing that karma is not that there's something more important than that. However, you're not doing that karma because you want to run away from it. You're doing some other type of karma now. Because you don't want to look at the other karma. It's like, because you're deluded, you're saying, I don't want to do it. It's niyata, still I don't want to do it. Krishna is now moving on to the rajasic type of karma. Dukhamiteva yat karma kaya klesha bhayatyajit sakritva raj samtyagam naiva tyaga phalam labhet. There are also other types of karma that we don't do. Like certain karma in our own lives now. This is where we have to introspect. Dukhamiteva yat karma. That this karma is sorrowful for me. That's why I won't do it. Yeah. Or this karma is causing stress on my body. That's why I won't do it. Kaya klesha, bhaya. Or even that this karma, I fear it. That I won't do it because I may get attached. Or I fear it because I can't do it without any attachment. No. That doesn't work. That's not the way of doing karma. He may do the rajasic type of tyaga. However, Krishna here is saying that naiva tyaga phalam labhet. He will never get the fruit of renunciation. Now, we see that Krishna is saying that don't get attached to the fruit. However, he's also bringing up the point that a person who is rajasic will never get to the fruit of renunciation. Why so? It's because Krishna understands the paradox of karma, understands the principle of karma, whereby you, if you're running behind the fruit, even though you attain it, you're only attaining that small portion out of the karma. However, if you're not running behind the fruit, just to the karma, then you're attaining the full fruit of the karma. It's like when your eyes are fixated only to one aspect, you don't get the full view. When you're running behind one particular type of fruit, you're looking at the skies just from your window. And that's only what you'll ascribe as the sky. Somebody will show you that, look at the sky through the window. And then you'll say, oh yeah, this much is the sky. So what you'll do is you'll say, oh, the sky is measurable because I can see it and it is measurable through my window. However, what Krishna is saying that what the fruit is immeasurable, can't be measured. If you only ascribe to one part of the fruit, you'll never know the immense possibility of the fruit, the immense possibility of the karma. So don't be fixated to the fruit. Don't look at the skies from your window. Go out of the door and then look at the skies. Go out of your house and then look at the skies. So go out of this possibility of attachment. Go out of the attachments from the fruits, from the karma, from akarma. And when you're out of the house and you're looking at the skies, then you'll be able to know that what the skies truly are, immeasurable. It's like when a wave is made onto the sea, that wave, you may not realize, but that wave continues to be in one way or the other, even though small, but it just continues to be. And that fruit is that. And how to realize that is first to get rid of the attachments. Then you realize what the immense possibility of karma can be. What you get as the fruit is like the skies falling upon you. However, when you do tyaga, now, why Krishna put this point of neva tyaga phalam labhet in Rajasic? He would have said it in Tamasic as well, because Tamasic person doesn't get the fruits of the tyaga, doesn't get the fruits of the renunciation. Then why say it in Rajasa? Because in Tamasic, it's really easy to realize that this is not the right type of renunciation, he's doing the wrong type of renunciation, and he won't receive the fruit. It is like a given. However, in Rajasic, it may feel that he's doing the right type of renunciation, but then behind, you realize that he won't get the fruits of what renunciation truly is. Because there's a very small distinction between that Rajasa type and the Sattvic type. So Krishna is now pointing out to the Sattvic type of renunciation. Karyamityeva yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna sangam tyaktva palam chaiva satyaga satviko mata. Karyamityeva yat karma. Because this karma is supposed to be done, is doing it. Because the law of gravity exists, I am following it. It's not that you need any other reason. It's just that the principle exists that you need to do the karma. Niyatam kriyate arjuna. And then not only that it exists in a particular way, but then even how you interact with that principle matters. It has to be niyatam for you, because there's a way that your swabhava is molded. There's a way that you have a particular hobby, you have a particular type of talent, unique to you. Nobody else has in the world. It's unique to you. If you're doing that karyamityeva yat karma, still not yet there, look for that which is so unique to you. It is a differentiator that you are. Now, when we talk about differentiator, you feel that, oh, now there's a difference between that person and me and another person now. But Krishna is trying to say that that uniqueness is what brings out who you truly are. It's what brings out the Brahman within you. It is how you can shape yourself. No any other way. It's like saying that, why does a rose seed become into a rose plant and then into a rose flower? Why? It's because it has the potential of doing that. It can't become any other type of flower. It has the potential of becoming a rose, and because it doesn't want to become anything else, it only wants to become a rose, it becomes a rose. However, what happens with us is we have a particular type of swabhava, but then we want to become something else as well. And we want to become something else as well. What happens with us is we are a rose, but then we want to become another type of flower because it looks more beautiful. And then between that, we neither become the other type of flower because we don't have the potential within, and we also don't become a rose because we want to become another type. We take away the possibility of becoming ourselves because we want to run away from who we are. Krishna here is saying, Karyamityeva yat karma, niyatam kriyate Arjuna. Sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva, satyaga satviko mata. You take away, you renounce. Here, what Krishna is saying, renouncing is on the part of sangam, the attachment. Renounce the attachment, not the karma. Let the karma be. Just renounce the attachment. And also renounce the fruit. Just let the karma be. Here you can see how much effort Krishna is doing, that yes, you have to do the right karma, but then there are all these misleading paths that may take you astray. So do the right karma as it's supposed to be done. Those paths that are leading you astray, Krishna is negating them, is saying, not this, not this. So this is what will remain at the end. That is the type of karma that you're supposed to do. You do the karma without those paths that are leading you astray. And that is the right type of renunciation. Not the renunciation of karma completely. Do all the karma that is in your swabhava, that is niyatam. And then when you want to renounce, don't renounce the karma. Renounce the fruit, renounce the attachments that you have with the karma. That Krishna is saying is sattviko mataha. Krishna is saying, I see that as sattvika tyaga. I see that as sattvika renunciation.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. So folks, if you have questions, go ahead and type exclamation mark, or if you have comments. I had one question, Yogeshwar. So now, by now, Krishna has taken us through these three gunas in multiple aspects of life. He's talked about food, he's talked about Shraddha, he's talked about Yajna, and he's talked about renunciation. I really like your observation that here the order is reverse, and it starts with Tamasic, Rajasic, and Sattvic. So can you quickly recap? So if you take, for example, Sattvic, what does he say about food? What does he say about Shraddha? What does he say about Yajna? What does he say about renunciation? So we have like a very quick overview of what Sattvic is from these four perspectives. I may be missing some of the axes, and then go to Rajasic and to Tamasic, so people can understand these three gunas across multiple axes. Go ahead.
Yes. So just as an overview, as a summary, when you're doing a yajna, because this is the order that Krishna has taken, first he has taken the order of yajna. So anabhisandhaya tu phala, when you're not attached to the fruit. And even, you know what anabhisandhaya means? It's not only getting attached to the fruit, but then not knowing the whole fruit even not knowing the whole fruit of the karma, of the yajna, you should do the yajna, because, and then what happens is vidhi drishta, just knowing the essence, just knowing the essence of the karma, not the fruit, not knowing the essence of the fruit or anything, knowing the essence of the karma, do the yajna. Yeah? And then, so that is sattvika. Rajasic on that aspect would be that you are looking at the fruit. Abhisandhaya tu phala. You're running, it's like what the example they normally give is, if you have an animal like a goat or a sheep, yeah, and you tie a carrot in front, what will happen? It will just run. So that's the state in which a rajasic person runs, just running for something that will never get. Abhisandhaya tu phalam, and then Krishna puts a part of dambha, meaning that it's not your true self. You're doing it just to show faces to the people around. That is the rajasic type. The tamasic type, however, is you're not looking at the essence of how the karma should be done, and you also don't have any shraddha in doing that karma. Then, even though you do that karma with all your laziness, that is also tamasic. Moving on to what tapa means. The first thing always in sattvic is afalakankritya. Shouldn't be looking at the fruit, only looking at the karma. And you have all the shraddha within yourself to do this tapa, to do this austerity. Well, rajasa means that you're doing that type of austerity not for the karma, but then satkara mana pujartam. You're doing that austerity for your pride. You're doing that austerity so that people worship you. And there's also the aspect of dambha. There's also that aspect of putting a face that is not on yours. And moving on to the tamasic, you're doing it out of ignorance, or you're doing it out of delusion, or even you're doing it so that other people or even yourself feel the pain of the karma. That is the tamasic type of tapa. When you're giving the dana, so moving on to dana, when you're giving the dana, and it is without any regard for the place you are in, for the time it is given, or for the person that you're giving that charity. If it is with all the regard, then it is sattvika. If it is without all that, it is tamasic. So what is rajasic? Rajasic is when you give charity, but then you're looking at when he will give you back the charity, when you'll receive something back. You're giving that charity, but then it's always with that tension of when will I get the fruit back from him. It's like you're not giving the charity looking at the person, what type of person it is, but you're not giving the charity for the karma of the charity. What you're giving the charity for is to get more out of the person back. So that type is rajasic. These are the three types of karma.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. Next up is David, followed by Joe. David.
Yes, thanks, Shrikant. Thanks for the great introduction to Yogeshwar. I had two questions. I'll ask one now, and then we can come back if there's time. This is sort of a meta question, and back to terminology that I'm unsure about in Sanskrit. And that is, we've been discussing about sacrifice here, and then in chapter 17 and other. And I wanted to understand precisely what is being asked or what is meant by renunciating this sacrifice. Because I mean, in English, I mean, when the tyaga itself can also be, it's renunciation, it's abandonment, but it also could be that you're sacrificing something, but that's not the sacrifice of yajna, I mean, which is another sacrifice. And we've had, I mean, just to give context, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but we've talked about in Judaism in Genesis and Cain and Abel and not making a good enough sacrifice and the broader meaning of sacrifice in religion. And so I wanted to understand in this, is this specifically the limited, I mean, yes, I understand yajna, precisely means a type of offering, a sacrifice in Hinduism, but I wanted to understand, is this presentation by Krishna meant in a broader sense of not renouncing sacrifice in general for an aim, or is this really the very limited sense of sacrifice in terms of making a burnt offering or some sort of a religious offering? I mean, what are we really talking about in the context? I mean, how metaphorical should we interpret this entire passage?
So, yajna, what yajna truly means. Krishna has pointed out all the different types of yajna in chapter 5, where he has talked about the jnana yajna, he has talked about the yoga yajna, he has talked about even abhyasa is a type of yajna. Now, when we look at that, we see that Krishna is not only talking about the sacrifice around the fire that you're giving in. It is, yes, a type of yajna, fine. But then, according to Krishna, what he has revealed in chapter 5, back then, what yajna is not only one thing that is constrained to one, like you're giving up something like into the fire. Not only that, because if Krishna had not said it himself, then we would have to infer. But then that's not what we're doing here. We're not inferring. What we're doing is the text as it is saying in the Gita, chapter 5. There are so many types of yajna Krishna has said. Even pranayama is a type of yajna. It's like you're living out something to get something. Now, when we're doing that, Krishna is saying that even when you're living out to get something, don't do it to get something back. Just leave. That is the type of yajna it is now here. In all aspects. Now here we don't even have to infer metaphorically what Krishna is trying to say in our daily lives. Because Krishna has pointed out each and everything, even reading a book like Abhyasa, it's named as a yajna in chapter 5. So even something like reading a book or contemplating on a thought is a type of yajna that you're doing. Anything that can lead you towards the path of Brahman is a type of yajna named by Krishna. So not even metaphorically or not even inferring, but according to what Krishna has put in chapter 5, yajna is way broader than just sacrifice in the fire. What Krishna is truly meaning. Now, sometimes what happens in tradition is because all the other essences are taken out, only one sort of essence remains in the tradition. Like one thing is revered more than all the other things. So it becomes fixated in one part, in one aspect of life. But according to Krishna and the text of Gita, it is way broader than just that.
Thank you. Thank you, Yogeshwar. Next up is Joe.
So my question's kind of basic. You talked about to really know the essence of something, you have to separate yourself from it. Can you go into an example for that? Just so I have a better understanding. Does that?
An example, yeah, I would give is in a way, first try to do some karma and then see that, can I do this karma without any attachment to the fruit? First that, Like get it one by one. Don't try to do everything together. So one by one, like, can I do it without the attachment to the fruit? And which type of karma can I do without the attachment to the fruit? Then slowly you'll realize that this is like a hobby. It's not something that has to pull me or push me. When you realize that hobby, because it's like, what is your talent? What is your hobby? That is what will allow you to get into more context of what it means to do it without a fruit. Because you can do one thing without a fruit. Why not all other things without fruit? Another example I like to give is also that I'd given yesterday about, even though we don't know how to sing, yeah, but just try singing. Just try singing. It's something that is like, it's out of the world. Even though you don't know it, it's just fine to sing. Even if you're singing in the bathroom, it's fine. But then just try to sing. And then when you're singing only to yourself, not that you're not singing to get anywhere, like to get to the end. You're not singing to get to the end note. Because if you're doing that, the faster you sing, the better. But that's not the case. So if you can realize, even with one type of karma, like singing, you're singing to get the best out of each and every note. Just to do that. And the type of concentration you need to do that. To remove each and every note and play it or sing it out with utmost concentration, just for the note. Now you're not doing it for the public because you don't have anyone in front of you. You're not doing it because you want to get to the end note or you just want to finish singing. No, you just want to do it for the singing itself. You want to do it for the karma itself, not anything else. So there's certain types of karma that are still there. And when you do them, you realize that you don't have to do them for any other karma or for any other fruit, but you can do them just for the karma themselves. That's why in Bhakti Sampradaya, it is really important singing. Like you sing and you don't face the audience. What you face is the Murti. You face Brahman. When you're doing that, you're saying that audience is fine, yeah, but you're not singing for them. Even like singing with all those notes and singing towards Brahman, you realize that in front of you, it's almost that there's nothing. It's almost that there's outer space in front of you. And then when you sing, when you project your voice outside, it is like the most magnificent thing that you can do. Now, for that experience, you have to do it. You can't get that experience without doing it. So you do it. But there are examples of karma that even you can think about, that you don't need anything attached to it, just that. And you can realize that even in Bhakti Sampradaya, they have maintained that essence. Even without knowing the logistics behind it, those who sing, they maintain that essence of karma, that do it just for the song. Sing for the song, not for anything else.
Thank you. Thank you, Yogeshwar. Next up is David.
Yeah, thanks. The second question, as I mentioned, I'm not sure if this is for Yogeshwar or maybe Shrikant, because again, we talked about that there's a lot of context in the words and the meaning in the Bhagavad Gita that non-Indians wouldn't understand. And I specifically was curious about the terms sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, which are, as far as I understood, also very much applied to food. Now that may have been later, that there are these different types of food. And I was curious So I don't know if the food meaning came first and the calmness, or probably the Sanskrit meaning came first, but if there's any additional insight that you could provide about the food interpretation when an Indian person reads and hears these terms, then a person is just thinking about it in the very bland sense of, okay, this is calm, this is these other meanings. I mean, how this has a greater interpretation or a greater connotation because of the being embedded in the other meanings that Indians understand these terms to represent in food.
Thank you, David. Great question. I don't know whether there is a good answer to that, because in terms of looking at when different aspects of different concepts started being applied to different things, even in English, it's very difficult to figure that out. But I'm going to have, Yogeshwar, go ahead. The interesting part here is the food, and it also struck me because, all the other qualities that we're talking about are things which are more kind of internal. Food is clearly something which is physical, and, you are imbuing it. So seeing these concepts applied to food was actually quite stunning. So any thoughts about this, Yogeshwar?
Yes, so one thing that we have to note here is when Krishna talks about food, he's talking about your interaction with the food. Because it's not the food that may have the sattvic, tamasic nature. What happens is when you eat it, that matters. Because now the interaction the food has with your body matters here. So even that, in a way, is external, because it's not related to any aspect of like doing it with the right intention. But then now, certainly, what we have to realize here is the way you eat or the type of food you eat, it constructs your body. It even constructs the neurons of your mind, constructs everything. Everything is out of the food you eat. Like, just imagine we were a baby, that size. How did we become so big, in size? It's out of the food that we have eaten all through. Yes, there's an aspect that the food is also processed out of the body, but most of it is taken in, and that's what makes your body. Now, that is important. But then you realize that that is also external. That is still also external. Most certainly, what happens is the intentions you can have while you're eating such types of food. For example, if you're eating vegetables, if you're eating fruits, there is a different type of intention that you have when you're eating that. Whereas when you're eating other kinds of food, like spiced up foods and that, what is your intention behind it? Your intention is to fulfill your desire. What your intention is there is a lot more important. Now, sometimes you realize that you may be eating something spiced up, but then it's just because to survive. Now, that the intention is different now. You realize that. But that condition doesn't come to us more apparently, like it's not there every day. So what should we be doing every day? Eating the foods where our intentions can be kept as clear as possible. Where our intentions, if we can clear our intentions to something like food, which is external and we can control, then we can get a roadmap to clearing our intentions even for the karma that we're going to do.
Excellent. Yogeshwar, I want to add something. And this is something that I was thinking about as you were speaking. When you look at food in the Indian tradition, it's very different. It is kind of integrated into the culture itself of who you are and how you live. So it is not about the thing. the food, it's not about the external. It is really about what your temperament is, what your lifestyle is, what your way of living is. And the way in which you're consuming food is just one of the aspects of you're consuming anything or you're taking any action. So a person who is sattvic, who really wants to pursue truth, he is eating in order to continue to fuel that in the best way possible. So he's eating habits, what he chooses, how he eats, how much he eats, how often he eats, it's all shaped by that. So it's really pointing to your way of dealing with reality, your conscious way of dealing with reality. Now, the aspects of the food itself in some ways help or hinder that. So for example, when you're eating food that is going to be really strong on your senses, so a person who wants to enjoy the emotions of the moment, not paying attention to what the consequences over their entire day or entire life is going to be, is going to eat in a rajasic way, because they are just saying, oh, this sugar is delicious. What do I care what happens to me with the sugar when the sugar high falls? What do I care what happens to my weight over time by eating this? Because that means that you're thinking of sustaining things and similarly in case of tamasic, you're basically too lazy and you're really too much delusional and too much full of ignorance to take the effort of saying, okay, this is good food and this is not good food. You're just kind of going with something which is just there, even if it is not in a good state. So that also is a reflection of how you're treating yourself, how you're treating your life, how you're treating people around you. So there is this integration between that. And that's why I found the examples of food very powerful, because it shows this mind-body connection. It shows this interaction between spirit and matter, between your intention and your action and the things themselves. So that's what I would say. Next up is going to be Ambika, followed by Rupali. Ambika. Ambika, you need to unmute yourself. Okay. Next, let's go to Rupali. Rupali, go ahead.
Hello, thank you for this conversation. I have, like David said, that there is a context for Indians, and I would say I've been fortunate to have that context growing up. And a few things that I've noticed. So one example would be Mahatma Gandhi, where he, when we talked about renunciation, if you look at his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth, he talks about how he gave up one type of food after another and came to the conclusion how it helped his health. Then he said, okay, how many clothes do I need? How much do I need in my house? And slowly he gave up one thing after another, but he never stopped doing. Like, he didn't become a monk, or he didn't give up regular life. And I thought, okay, that's a good kind of balance to see. You can still be within this environment of doing the work in your regular life. You don't have to give up and become a monk. Like, that's the highest kind of a position for the community that I grew up in Jainism, is you renounce till you've attained your own self. right? The second, there's several examples in my own house. My grandmother, after she has her lunch and dinner, she renounces food. She'll actually just pray every single day and say, for the next 2 hours, I'm not going to eat anything. And that's a conscious decision that she makes, to give up and renounce. And I think those conscious decisions are the ones that are helping them stay healthy and better. So now I'm beginning to see the connection between what people actually do and why they do it, because I understand the Gita now. So, so those were my observations that I wanted to share. And then, I constantly struggle with the balance of how to bring myself back on track, and not drift into the tamasic mode or rajasic mode. And how do I recognize that is always my question. So anyways, I did ask that question yesterday. So I just wanted to share my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rupali. Sorry, Ambika, I muted everybody as a Zoom bomber thing, but please go ahead.
No problem. I was aware of that, so it's okay. But so thank you. This is becoming really beautiful. Starting with what you said in the beginning, Yogeshwar, that you do the action for the sake of the action itself, and not for all the other things. Excuse me. And then then you also spoke about singing. You sing just to sing, and it's true. We sing just to the tree or the murti and by yourself, and it's really beautiful. And then came food, and what was coming up in my mind was rasa. So when we experience the fullness of whatever we do for the sake of doing it, then rasa also becomes expressed in you. And same thing with food and all the flavors and tastes. And if we lived that way with awareness, and things would then become simpler, I'm assuming, and a discipline would arise. Would that then be a joyous existence, to feel the rasa as well? And we talk about Ras Leela, and I would love for you to say something about it, because it is the time of the Ras Leela. It is Krishna, and he's associated with the 8 rasas, which are emotions in Indian dramatics and so on, the eight expressions. So would you please share something about this? Because it's all coming together as a weave for me: eating, thinking, being, joyousness, and the flute, which is also the eternal breath.
Go ahead, Yogeshwar.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as Ambika's pointed out, rasa doesn't have one meaning in Sanskrit. It has the meaning of like the taste that you get through the food. It also has the meaning of that experience you get when somebody else is singing, or you hear the finest note of music. Then ras also means that which you feel while you're reading a certain kind of poetry. That is all rasa. And in one of the shastras I was reading, it came that rasa brahma sahodaram, that rasa is something that can take you just towards Brahman. Yeah? It takes you just so near Brahman that you can just almost touch Brahman with rasa. That's why it is so valued in Indian tradition. Now there the rasa is out of the music and out of that sort of poetry that the rasa is being talked in context about. In context to that, you can see that Krishna's life was so full of all this. It was so full of a dance. It was so full of music, of notes, of all this type of karma that can lead you just towards the right path, just towards the right way of doing karma. Now, if Krishna does any type of karma, it will have the essence of this, of the rasa that is realized through the music, through the dance, through all those. So that's just a comment about what Ambika said. Then comment about what Rupali said. Yeah? I just realized that one thing about food that is interesting in India is that all mothers know how to make each and every type of dish that you would like to have. Like, that's a given in each and every home in India. So one thing you realize there is that certainly it's not something that you can get so well, but then when you experience it, you realize that, just imagine that love that the mother must be putting in the food, like while preparing the food. It's not just that the mother puts the love into the food, yeah, but the love that the mother feels while she's preparing the food. And then while she gives the food to each and every member of the family, that love that somebody experiences out of providing for the family, out of making the food that somebody wants in the family, and then you'll be like, oh, it's like a month has gone and we want to have like something like ladwa, or we want to have modaka, or we want to have something, and she'll just make it. Yeah. So it's like you realize that love that she has for the person who is requesting that. Each and every person in the family is valuable to her. So that food also brings that context, the whole of it. Like you don't just pick one context of food that, oh, she just prepares the food, but then all that love she must have had for that person to prepare that particular type of food. And then so many times, like, she may not know how to make that food, and then she learns from the neighbors, she learns from somebody else, or she learns from her mother how to make it, just so that she can make it for the child. Yeah. So that's also like an experience that is almost particular to only Indians, like that preparing the food for the child or preparing the food for the husband, that is unique. And one other aspect on top of that is that however much love you may see out of this food, but then just try like buying that same food. Yeah. Yes, it has even more quality of rasa, it has more quality of taste, but then look at the love that has been missed out when you're buying the food from somebody else. That love, the context of that emotion is all lost, because there's no that I want to make it particularly for you, like I prepared it for you particularly. Yeah, that has one particular context, and when it's done for you, you really feel the love. And when it's done for, like, it's just general public, like let everybody have it, just however much money they have, they can take it, that's totally different context. This is totally unique.
Wonderful, fantastic point. Thank you, Yogeshwar. All right, so shall we go next to 10 through 12? What do you think?
Yeah, it's fine. You can go to 10.
Okay, so let's start with Ambika, if you could read 10 through 12, and then David, and then Yogeshwar. Go ahead, Ambika.
The man of renunciation, well steeped in sattva, intelligent, his doubts torn away, abhors not an uneasy or unsuitable action, nor does he cling to the easy or suitable action. For an embodied being, it is indeed not possible to abandon actions altogether. Whoever renounces the fruit of action, he verily is held to be the man of renunciation. Desirable, undesirable, and mixed, triple is hereafter the fruit of the action of the non-renouncers, but not so ever of the men of renunciation.
Thank you. Next up is David. David, go ahead.
The intelligent renunciate, endowed with the nature of goodness, freed from all doubts, neither disdains disagreeable actions, nor becomes attached to agreeable ones. The embodied being can never completely give up activities. but it is described that by renouncing the fruitive results of actions that one is renounced. Results of the three kinds of activities accrue after death, leading to hellish planets, leading to heavenly spheres, and to the human worlds in between for those desiring the results of actions, but never at any time for the renunciate.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Yogeshwar?
न द्वेष्ट्य कुशलं कर्म कुशलेनानुसज्जते त्यागी सत्त्वसमाविष्टो मेधावी छिन्न संशयः. Krishna is now further explaining what sattvika means, what sattvika type of renunciation truly means. Why we need a better explanation of this? Because renunciation is a concept that is really hard to grasp, because you may renounce and then you may feel that I've renounced for the greater good. But then there's that laziness that will be just lying in there. There will be that tamasic gun that will be just lying in there. So Krishna is trying to find it out, that na dveshti akushalam karma, kushale nanusajjate. You should not be so attached to one type of karma that you feel will bring you something. You should not also try to go so much apart from a karma that you feel is not good. Now, why is Krishna saying this? Because there are these types of karma that we feel are not good. Like, we don't feel like doing them. For example, like even doing our bed, like it's like, should we do that type of karma? Yeah, we also have this all kinds of questions. And then another like thing is about cleaning any rubbish that is around, even cleaning the kitchen, all that is there, yeah, or even cleaning even the toilets, like what you use, yeah, you should be able to clean that at least. What happens is we try to run away from such type of karma. That's our instinct. We don't want to do that. And then we feel that I am not doing karma. Now, that's not the right way of renouncing karma. You should be able to do all that. Whether it's laying your bed, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the house, anything. We feel that because I have renounced that, I've gotten to renunciation. No, not yet. Because that is like a tamasic type of renunciation, whereby you're running away from some types of karma. And then what we do is kushale, like those types of karma that take a person, like in the world, that person is taken as a higher status, because that's a person who will be called kushala. You'll have a higher status in the world. We always strive towards karma that are going towards such a person, or the qualities of such a person, whether it's through molding our intellect, whether it's through maybe wanting to become a CEO or wanting to become a manager in a company, because people look at him as a higher status. Should we be doing that? That's what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying, no. Na dveshti akushalam karma. Those karma that are viewed as akushala in the views of the world. Like, who will put into news that a person regularly cleans his house? No, nobody will. But who will put in the news that somebody has become a CEO? Everyone. So those are the types of the world norms that are being set, that this is a kushala type of karma, like this is a greater type of karma than this karma. We should not be having that. We should be able to do even those karma, even those types of action, simplest types of action, whereby nobody will tell us that you have a greater type of intellect. Just do such types of karma and realize that doing those types of karma is also a type of renunciation. Yeah? Even doing those types of karma, because now you don't have the aspect of the fruit. You don't have the aspect of getting attached to the karma. Those types of karma are the real renunciation, Krishna is saying. Because while you're cleaning your bed, laying your bed, what do you have in mind? Like, you're doing the karma for itself, cleanliness itself, yeah? And then will you ever get attached to that karma? No, you don't get attached to the karma. You do it because it's meant to be done. Tyagi sattva samavishto, medhavi chinna sanshaya. What happens when you're able to do such type of karma? You become a tyagi. That is the real type of tyaga, Krishna is saying. Not getting attached to the fruit, not getting attached to the karma itself, and also not being attached to a karma. Just doing the karma just for its own sake. Then what will happen to that person? Sattva samavishta. You'll also become a person who will be having sattva guna in himself constantly. Because he doesn't have to run behind a fruit to do the karma of cleanliness. He can just do the karma. Then medhavi, that is the person who has the utmost intellect, Krishna is saying. Because wisdom or jnana in Indian tradition doesn't come just from the intellect. It just doesn't come from contemplating. It also comes from karma, doing karma the right way. That's when you're in sattva guna. And in sattva guna is when you have the utmost attention towards things that matter in life. Because things that matter in life are not necessarily like those rajogunic types of karma that we run around for. But even the singing of the birds matters in nature. Even music matters in nature. Even the flute matters in nature. But if we are always constantly running towards the rajasic type of karma, those that have the fruit in front, then we miss this. And we can't be chinna sanshaya if we miss this. We can't be out of doubt. We'll always be in doubt. Because when you don't have the sattva guna in you, you'll always have the doubt. You'll always have the twofold. Because the rajoguna always brings the twofold. You can do so many other types of things. Why are you doing this? Whereas when you're doing your hobby, like when you're doing something that is a particular talent of yours, what will happen then? You will do that karma without any doubt. You're not that you're doing that karma because you're running away from something. No. It's not that you're doing that karma because you don't have anything else to do. No. You're doing that karma, removing time out of your schedule for the sake of the karma now. Okay? Nahi deha bhrita shakyam tatyaktum karmanyasheshatah yastu karma phalatyagi satyagitya vidhiyate. Krishna is telling Arjuna that you should realize when you're in this body, there's no way you can remove all the types of karma from the process of life. Karma is enjoined with the body. If you have a body, you'll have to do any type of karma. Whereby Krishna is now meaning that you have to eat, you have to clean yourself, you have to do all those types of things. You have to meet the basic needs of your body. Doing that, you realize that there's no way you can like remove all the types of karma from your life. No, that's not possible if you have a body. Nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya sheshata. Asheshata is the word Krishna uses here. You can't remove karma, leaving none behind. You're going to leave karma behind. For that reason, yastu karma phala tyagi satyagi idhyate. He who has renounced the fruit of the karma is the real tyagi. Krishna is saying, Anishtam ishtam mishram cha trividham karmana phalam bhavatyatyagi pretya natu sanyasinam kvachit. There are three types of fruits that you're going to get out of this karma. Ishtam, anishtam, and mishram. Meaning the fruit that you want out of the karma, then you're also going to get the fruit that you did not want out of the karma. That we realize in our normal lives. We do a specific type of action for one thing, but we don't get that karma. We don't get that fruit out of that action. And we may also realize a mixture. We may get what we wanted, but then we may also get something that we really didn't want out of the karma. Like we may get a mixture of those. Krishna is saying that's fine. And that's the law of karma, because if you intend, you'll have ishta karma. If you desire, then you'll have a karma that you wanted. And if you desire, you'll also have a karma that you did not want. If you desire, you'll have a type of fruit that is a mixture of both, something you wanted and something you did not want out of the action. However, Krishna is saying those three are only for bhavatya tyaginam pretya, natu sanyasinam kvachit. Those three types of karma, of fruits of the karma, they are for a person who is atyagi. They are for a person who has all the desires in him. They are for a person who cannot remove the attachment to the fruits. It's not for a person who is a sannyasi. It's not for a person who has renounced all the karma in the right way, renouncing the fruit of the karma. What we realize here is these three fruits of karma go hand in hand. If you have a desire, you have all the three. If you don't have a desire, you have none of them. Why is that so? Because desire is what brings about what you want, like ishtam, meaning you get what you wanted. And that only comes out of desire. When you have a desire is when you'll get what you did not want. Because if there's no desire, there's also not what you did not want. That also doesn't arise. Having that, even the mixture type of fruit doesn't arise because you don't have any desire. So the fact Krishna is trying to point out here is that desire is what is bringing out the happiness and the sorrow that you're feeling right now. It's also bringing out the mixture of the happiness and the sorrow that you're feeling right now. What karma initially does, if you do it for the karma, then it's not the happiness or the sorrow that you're going to experience. It is the sheer ananda just for the karma, just from the karma that you're going to realize. And that, out of the examples that we have laid out so far, you can realize it in your hobby, you can realize it in specific types of karma like dancing, like singing. When you do that, try to expand the experience of those types of karma. Try to do it for more or elongated periods of time. Then you realize that there's something, there's a type of state in which you are when you're doing that karma. When you realize that state, then try to also do it not only with that particular type of karma, but with each and every type of karma, that state. Now, why I'm doing this? Because what happens is, how should I get to Sattva? Now, that's our question. I am putting it as a fruit, not because it is a fruit to be attained, not because you'll go towards that fruit when you want to get that fruit. But I'm telling you this as a fruit Because the only way you'll attain this is not having any expectations out of the karma. The only way you can get the essence of the music is when you don't have any other desire from the music. That's only when you can attain that state of being in the tone of the music. That's why I'm saying keep it as a fruit, fine. But then don't also get attached to that. There's something beyond that as well. But for starters, we need to start somewhere. We need to get a hold of something. It's like climbing a staircase. Yes, we know the last stair is our goal, but we can't really jump onto the last stair. We need to have these small steps that are put in front of us. We have to put our foot on the first step, and also realizing when you're climbing the staircase, you put the right foot on the first stair, and it has to be firm now. When it is firm is when you'll take your left foot out of the first staircase and put it onto the third now, because your foot is on the second. So what will happen there is you need something that is firm on the staircase, and you need something that can go onto the next stair. Both are important. There is a firmness that you need on the staircase, and there's also something that you need to go on top of this to the next stair. Both are important. You can't say that I will not have one. Both are truly important, and that's how you'll climb the staircase. That's how you'll live life. I will have to tell you a type of fruit to attain right now, because without that, it's like telling you to go from the first staircase to the last stair. That's impossible. You can't do that. So first have a type of fruit that is really malleable. It's really like when you get to it, it's not there. That type of fruit is like being in the state of music, or being in the state of cleaning up. Maybe it's your bed, cleaning up the kitchen, or such types of karma. Being in that state, then you realize that being in that state, you can't be in that state if you have a desire for the karma. Those are the types of tyaga, those are the types of renunciation Krishna is saying. Not renunciation of action in any way, but renunciation of the fruit of the action.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Yogeshwar. Folks, it's time for questions. We'll start with Jyoti. Jyoti, go ahead.
Now, Yogeshwar, I was wondering, you gave the example of singing and dancing. That was excellent. What about reading in a afternoon? You pick up a book and you're by yourself and you're consumed in reading, or you're listening to somebody's presentation. Even now, like we are listening to you. And what would you categorize under? Is that not essence of karma?
Yes, so in steps, you realize that each and every karma, each and every action can be done with sattva gun as a state in which you are. It's fine. But then there are these certain types of examples that need to be given, because not everyone realizes that state in each and every type of karma. It's not a given. So there are those types of karma, particular ones, whereby that state cannot be messed up, where that state is necessary for you to realize what music means, what a dance means. So those examples are really important, but then don't only specify that that is where sattva-guna arises. No. Having realized that state there, bring that same state into each and every type of karma that you're doing, each and every particular karma you're doing. Even thinking can be done in the state of sattva. That is what we have to realize. Even breathing can be done in a state of sattva. But those are a bit subtler. We'll try to get onto those karma that are really evident in front of us, and then slowly go subtler within ourselves.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. Folks, if you have questions, go ahead and type exclamation mark, questions or comments. Let's go with Marco. Marco, go ahead.
When you're like trying to find the essence, like if you're practicing music and not getting attached, you know, you're doing it just for the essence of it. Like, is that like similar to being like in a flow state?
Yeah, so realize that we've gone through the book Flow, even in 52 Living Ideas. And what I would like to put there as a distinction is that, you know, in flow, you're still doing it for the flow. Yeah, you're doing that karma so that you are in the flow. What I'm trying to say is that, yes, do it so that you're in the flow, but then Krishna is now pointing even beyond that. He's saying that even though some karma is akushala, you're able to do it. And with the same state, you can pull that state not onto one karma, but into each and every karma in your life. And then you be in that state and go beyond that state. Because as we realize in chapter 14, Krishna has said, even sattva guna is not something to be attached to. However, it's something that you should realize in your life. It's not something that you should get attached to, because even attachment to sattva guna will pull you back from wherever you are. So any kind of attachment, Krishna is saying no.
Thank you. Yogeshwar, that was very good. Next up is Brian, followed by Jyoti. Brian.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is Penny.
Penny, go ahead.
I had a question. And kind of when you were talking like at the beginning and you were giving the example of the mirror and doing, the purifying types of karma, which would, clean from the dust from the mirror and you could see yourself. And then you were saying like who you are. And I think you said like Sopava. Is Sopava similar to Atman? Is that like seeing the essence of you as part of the, the universal Brahman?
Yes, so how Swabhava is looked at in this context is that, what is your Swabhava? Who are you? Yeah. In this context, yes, your Swabhava is Brahman. To be Brahman is your Swabhava. That's who you are. It's just that this dirt and all these veils are put upon of ignorance and delusion that we don't realize that we truly are Brahman. So what to do with that? Remove the veils one by one, and you'll realize that there's nothing you have to do to get to Brahman. It's not that you did some type of karma to get to Brahman. No, it's that you just did a type of karma just to clean up. It's like a house, yeah? If you leave a house like for 1 month or 2 months, you realize that even though you closed it, like packed it, yeah, there will be that dust that is settled upon each and everything in your house. Why is that so? Like, it's normal for that to just get around your house when you leave it for 1 month. Now, what has happened to us is that the house is there. It's just that the cleaning has to be done from there. Like you will go back to your home, like when you go back after a month or 2, you'll have to clean it up. Why? Because it is normal for that just to be there now after a month or 2. So it's the same here. If we're not constantly cleaning up our antakaran, it will contain dirt. It will start having those layers of dirt that are put on top. So the process of karma is not for realizing Brahman. Process of karma is to remove the dirt. because the Brahman is your Swabhava, it is who you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Penny. Next up is going to be Jyoti. Jyoti, go ahead.
Yeah, Yogeshwar. Every day I perform a ritual in the morning that is to worship the sun, and I sing the Gayatri Mantra. My question to you is, every day I have this deja vu effect, and I have gotten attached to it because I go and look at the sun, there's a blob of light, and then the sun separates from when I concentrate, I see the sun separating from the blob of light, and then my singing starts. And every the more I sing, the more sun seems very, very close to me and real to me. And I get attached to that. Is that attachment to the fruit, or what is going on here? Like, I am attached, and when it's not a sunny day, I feel quite disappointed. So is it good? Is bad? What am I doing here? Like, I'm getting my karma is pure. It has no intention in it, but the fruit that I'm seeing is the sun clearing up for me. I feel that I'm getting attached to it. Is it good, or it's not so good?
Yeah, so good and not so good is in context of what you are doing. Now, in this context, if you have gone from the state of tamasic and rajasic to sattvic, that's a good thing. Like, if you can move through any practice, through any type of karma, if you can move from rajasic or tamasic towards sattva, that's a good thing. Now, when that sattva holds you, or you get attached to that sattva, to be specific, and it doesn't allow you to become non-attached from any of the three gunas, what happens is now that becomes the problem, getting attached to the sattva guna. So getting attached anywhere is the problem. You have to go even beyond this sattva guna. One recommendation I would say is the last part of chapter 14, like to really realize where Krishna wants to take us. Because when you start something, like chapter 14 is the start of something, here Krishna has laid out the foundation for whether from the start to the end of the gunas. So the end of the chapter 14 shows you that even the gunas, like the sattva guna, is not the ultimate. You going beyond that. Not only cleaning the glass in front of you is important, but then you being able to realize that the Atman is there on this side of the glass. And then not only that as well, because there you've only reached the Atman. Now, when you realize that even without the glass, I am, even without the perspective of the world, I am, that is when you realize what Brahman is. Now, not getting attached to the glass or the cleanliness of the glass or even the image of the glass, realizing who you truly are. That's where the true freedom is. That's where the true essence of the Gita is.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. Next up is Rupali. Rupali, go ahead.
I have two questions. My first question is, the desire to be with the infinite. Is that also seeking the fruit? And like, I'm conflicted in saying, is that renunciation also driven by the fruit, the desire for the fruit, that I'm trying to seek the ultimate? Or how is that separate from having desires for material things? So that's one question. And then the second question is, if consciously we decide to go along the path of sattvic renunciation, then what are the steps towards them, towards achieving that? Thank you.
So one thing about desire for the ultimate and desire for other things, one specific difference, and this is huge, if you realize how difficult it is even to get to sattvic state, then this difference is huge. So what the other desires will do, they will take you towards the rajasic form. They will always make you running around just at the peripheral, not even realizing that you have a center. Yeah. What the search for the ultimate will do, yes, you'll have that intention at first, you'll have that desire at the start. If that desire is pure, like if you're not doing it so that you just become eternal, or you're not doing it just to get something out of Brahman, like for your wishes at the peripheral, if that desire is pure, then what will happen is slowly by slowly, all the Rajogun is going to be done away with. What you're going to remain with is the Sattva Gun. And this is a really great difference between the desire for the peripheral and the desire for the ultimate. But even, I would like to add a but only if the desire for the ultimate is true and pure. If it's also stained with, like, if I get to the ultimate, I will get, maybe I'll get something at the peripheral, like I will be able to get a good business, or I'll be able to do good at my job, or I'll be able to do good in my family. If it's still stained with that, yeah, you want to get to the ultimate, but for that reason, then the desire for the ultimate is still not pure. But if it is void of all that, it's just for the ultimate principle. It's just to realize what life is. Having that pure desire, it removes all the Rajogun from you and takes you towards Sattvagun. Now, the second point of how to get to Sattvagun, removing all these three, removing all these two, there is no specific way that it can be done. But one broad way of doing that is realizing your talent, your hobby. And if you still don't realize your talent or your hobby, one thing to do is like going onto these parts of like singing, whereby you know that karma can never hold any Rajogun in itself, at least basically. If you become popular, then that's another thing. It holds the fame and the money within itself. But if you're just singing at your home, it doesn't hold the points of Rajogun. It also doesn't hold the points of Tamogun because you're doing something. It doesn't hold the points of Rajogun because it doesn't have the factors of maybe the fame, it doesn't have the factors of money, it doesn't have the factors of desire at all. It's just singing. So if you can make such things, like maybe if you like playing a piano, if you like playing a flute, if you like singing just from your throat, or if you like dancing, even dancing is a good example. You don't dance to get to the last step of the dance. You dance for each and every step. Each and every particular step of the dance is important, is as important as the last step. For those reasons, like, because dance needs the concentration on each and every part of it, rather than just the fruit, like the last step of the dance, because that is not even the fruit of the dance, in a way. Because if it was the fruit, then the fastest dancer would be the better one, but that's not the case. Each and every step in the dance, it has a fruit of its own. When you can expand on those, like when you can be on those steps for longer times, because you realize that you're doing your dhyana yoga in that, you're doing your karma yoga in that, because you don't have any attachment to the fruits, and you're concentrated fully, and you're also loving it. So you're having your bhakti yoga in it, like you're putting all the parts of yogas into one type of activity. And then you expand the period of time when you're realizing such an experience. The more you expand it, the more you realize you can stay in that experience for longer and longer. Then you get a test of what it truly is, Sattva Guna. Once you get a test of it, then what I recommend is not only have it in that sphere of life, expand that Sattva Guna into each and every sphere of life, including something as subtle as thought. Like be in Sattva Guna and have all these thoughts, it's fine. So getting onto Sattva Guna, so first is getting onto a particular type of karma, like doing that karma so well that you can get into Sattva Guna using that karma, then expanding the sphere of your Sattva Guna.
Yogeshwar, that was a fantastic, beautiful point. It's just very deep. Basically, you understand your svabhava, understand what it, any kind of action, and then do it with everything that you have, bringing to bear all these things. And because it is action, it is by its nature not tamaguni. And because you're focused on the action itself, not the results of it, you build it up. And once you have that as a reference point, then you hold on to it and try to expand it. Beautiful. Thank you. All right, so I know you need to leave in about 3 minutes or so. What we will do is I want to now talk about the meetup that is coming up on Sunday and plan for that. All right. So firstly, I want to give you a little bit of context for this meetup. This is a meetup on the book Silver Trumpet by Owen Barfield. Now, we did an entire meetup on Owen Barfield. And Joe, if I could request you to find the link to that meetup and put it in the chat. Owen Barfield has a very deep idea. And actually, I'm very, very fascinated by what he has started, because it connects with my study of Julian Jaynes. When I studied these 52 living ideas, where not 52 living ideas, 103 great ideas. This is work of Mortimer Adler, where he went through all the philosophers, all the thinkers, and said, okay, what do all the thinkers, all the great thinkers of all times, regardless of field, what do they talk about? And identified these 103 ideas. And he has these essays describing the conversations, what he called great conversation between all these thinkers on these ideas. When I did that, I found language to be the most complex of these ideas. And over time, especially after looking at Julian Jaynes and now after looking at Owen Barfield, I think there is a lot there. There is just so much there that my mind is just going. I have like 100 different things going on. And I want to do something more on that. So that's just a general observation, and a lot will come out of that. Owen Barfield's core idea is that language at its best can produce a felt transformation of consciousness. So what does it mean? It means language at its best. So because most people really use language as forms, you really need to understand the function of language. They use, words are living, and most people use just cadavers of words. Okay, corpses of words. They don't use words. What does it mean for a word to live? What Owen Barfield is saying is that when you read a poem that you love, or a statement in a book that you read. Think of a poem. Most people can see that in a poem. And when a phrase or a metaphor makes you go, aha, I discovered something, that I'm seeing the world different as a result of this. That very experience of aesthetic appreciation, that wow, is the same as your consciousness seeing more than what you had seen before. That is what language at its best can do. And just like most people are listen to music but don't sing, read books but don't write, they approach language in a passive way. Language, when used in an active way, is a beast of incredible power. Very few people actually do that. They do that once in a while here and there, but not as a rule. And it's absolutely true about me. I find that I am not good at language. And I think there is just so much to it. And I'm just beginning the journey. Now, let's talk about this book. So I'm hoping that this is going to start off something. The meetup that Joe just posted, thanks Joe, which we did with along with Phil. That's a good starting point. You can also look up our Julian Jaynes playlist, especially the meetups on metaphors. There is just a lot here. Okay, so I want to start off with this book, The Silver Trumpet. And I want to ask you guys, so firstly, there are several people here who are going to be the readers. So let me see. So it's going to be Evanik, Ambika, Rupali, and Penny. So so any thoughts, any comments that you have? And I've read the book a couple of times. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to look at the book, about your experience of reading. How do you feel about this project of reading this book? It's a short book, 50 pages. So you can read it very quickly yourself, and then you can come and listen to it. So Ambika, what are your thoughts about this reading project that you're doing?
I think it's going to be really fascinating. And a question I had was, are you going to, after a certain number of paragraphs, just call on us, to go round robin, or how are you dividing that?
I'm thinking at this point of just reading the whole thing through and then having comments. But I might think about it and I might decide whether we should do, if the comments have to be very, very short, otherwise the meetup, because the reading itself is about 2 hours.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean comments in the middle of readings, but let's say Evanik starts and she's going to read 2 pages, then somebody else reads 2. Is that how you were organized?
It's going to be chapter by chapter. So there are some 15 chapters. So, let's say Evanik reads 1 page, 1 chapter, and then the next person reads the next chapter, and so on. And then depending on the number of people, we'll do the rotation again.
Right.
And I would really, my preference right now here, and I'm happy to take any comments or is to just read through the whole thing, just experience it as a whole, and then talk about it.
Yeah.
So Evanik, Penny, Rupali, any thoughts about the reading? Any questions? Evanik.
I don't have any questions. I haven't read it yet. I'm planning on reading it this weekend. But I am looking forward to it. I did read the preview that when you sent the link, and it seems like a really interesting story. So I am looking forward to reading it. I plan on reading it a couple times this weekend because it doesn't seem long. before I come Sunday night. So I am looking forward to it. And Shrikant, I have given up all other meetups this weekend but yours. So you could be very excited that I'm dedicating this to you. So
wonderful. I really, the meetups would not be same without you. So it's wonderful. Thank you. Next up is Rupali. Rupali, what do you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. My nephews and nieces are coming home today they're spending the whole day with me today. And we have twins. We have 10-year-old twins in that set. And so I'm really looking forward to reading this Silver Trumpet to them today and see their reaction.
Are they boys or girls?
They're girls, two girls. So the story starts with two princesses.
Yes.
And I often, they look alike and I often confuse their names. And so I think they're going to like it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm looking forward to the reading. And, it's a nice book. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be, those twins are going to be fighting which of them is Violet and which one is Gambetta. So
yeah,
it's going to be quite a competition. And which is a good thing actually, because they will have to prove that they are the Violet and not Gambetta. And in that competition, both of them are going to improve.
Yeah. And I think the other characters too, we have, I think I have about 8 nephews and nieces coming today. Mm-hmm. And they are all varied in age ranges, but they all love listening to stories. So nice. I think it's going to be fun today.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Rupali.
Thank you.
Next up is Penny. Penny, what do you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to it too. I must say I have not read it either yet, but it sounds like it's a wonderful story, a fantastic book. And so I am looking forward to this experience.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Plan on reading it very soon.
Yes. Excellent. All right, so really looking forward to it. Does anybody have any other comments? Okay, if you can read it beforehand, I would recommend reading it beforehand. And otherwise, you can just show up and you're going to be read to by some amazing readers. So it's going to be fun. And then we will get to sit down and discuss what it is. All right, folks. So good night, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.